Hey there, Smite fans, and welcome back to another SPL prediction video. This time we're going over Week 6 of the SPL. This is going to be Group B, looking at 4 of the North American teams, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see what exactly we see. Last week, we were actually kind of surprised. Dignitas, I thought for sure, was going to be the number 2 team, but Sanguine, out of nowhere, last seed, able to push themselves up and find themselves in this spot that they needed to go to Super Regionals. They were able to take number 2 in that group, and this group is going to be even closer. While last group it seemed like we knew Orbit was going to be at the top, there is no clear rise to shine here. Right now, Luminosity coming in at the strongest, but they've got 2 really strong contenders, and honestly, based on last week, 3, more than likely, 3 really strong contenders. The first match of the day is going to be very strong, and it's going to be an amazing set. Luminosity versus Eager. This is a matchup we saw in Week 4. It was actually the last North American matchup we've seen in the SPL. Luminosity 2-0'd them then. I personally believe Luminosity is going to be able to do it again. I think that they have a little bit more of a burning going on inside of them. Eager is strong. Eager's going to put up a hell of a fight, but I think ultimately Luminosity is going to be able to take this. It's going to be close. In fact, this could go either way. This could be a split. Eager might even be able to squeeze out the 2 games, but they both have LAN experience. They both have that just kind of passion to go on, and I feel like that's really going to be what pushes them into victory for Luminosity. I feel like they have just a little bit stronger of a drive right now. Eager, however, it might show up to prove me wrong. We'll just have to see how it goes. For Allegiance versus Eager, I'm going to have to call this one as a split, because while Eager actually has a worse score so far than we see from Allegiance, Eager has more LAN veterans. And Allegiance, while they do have, they have 3 members that have played on LAN already, having 2 members that are not used to that kind of scenario, having 2 members that could potentially kind of be weaker in that setting, is something Eager will definitely pick up on. That being said, I also don't think that Allegiance is going to be very weak in this scenario. Like last week, I thought we were going to see Elevate and Sanguine be really weak on LAN because they hadn't done it that much, but they showed up and proved me wrong very easily, so I think that that's not going to factor in as much for these teams, and I'm going to have to say this one's going to be a split between the 2. I think they're really close in skill, and I think it's going to be a very strong fight, unless they have some pocket strats, some things that I don't know about right now. Based on how they played in the first 4 weeks, honestly just the last week, and how I've seen them on streams recently, I'm gonna have to say it's a split. For Noble eSports versus Luminosity, Noble, for those who don't know, used to be the Randozos, and I actually think the win that they have, the win they have is versus Envy. I thought it was against Luminosity, but that's not the case. Luminosity has 2 losses under their belt. Neither of them are the 1 win that we have from Noble eSports, and I feel like Noble eSports won't be able to find it here. I think they're going to be able to... I think they're going to be able to surprise me. Honestly, I have a lot of votes for this week going against Noble, but I hope they can surprise me the same way that Sanguine and the same way that Elevate surprised me last week. That being said, I like my FP, so I'd like it if they didn't as well. I'm going to have to go with Luminosity in a 2-0 for this, just because I don't see Noble being able to do anything spectacular. I don't see them coming out and all of a sudden shining bright against the team that came in as the top seed. I just don't see Noble being able to outshine themselves. I think they're going to play the same way that we've seen them play all split, which is they'll come off to either a good start or a bumpy start, and then they lose it all in the mid game because their objective calling just isn't perfect. Their shot calling just isn't that great, and their teamwork needs a little bit of work. I haven't seen them play in a few weeks, so maybe they've improved some of that, but I think that Luminosity will have been working just as hard, if not harder, on it, and so they're going to be able to come on top relatively easily. The same thing kind of goes for Allegiance versus Noble. While Noble, again, probably has been improving, probably been working really hard, I just feel like Allegiance is going to have been working harder than that, and they're going to be able to take that in a relatively easy 2-0. Not quite as easily as I think LG is going to take it, but honestly, when it comes down to it, they're both going to be able to get 2-0 sets, so that's all that matters. This one's a little bit harder to call. This one's a lot kind of like the Eager game. Honestly, this one's going to set a precedent for the rest of the week. So I recommend watch Friday, watch this game on Saturday, and the first 2 games on Saturday. Get a feel for these teams before blindly following for the last half of Saturday and Sunday, because sometimes things change. Sometimes Sanguine comes out of nowhere. Things like that. Allegiance might be coming out stronger. Personally, based on what I've seen from these teams, based on what I know, and obviously what I know is in the public domain. It's things that you could watch as well, so you can form your own opinion if you really want to. And you should agree, you might agree with me here, this one could be a split. It's entirely possible, the same way that Eager and Luminosity could be a split. But I think Luminosity just has a little bit more passion behind them. I think they're going to be able to take it in 2-0. It's not going to be easy for them. Allegiance is going to headbutt them every step of the way. They're going to be building walls for Luminosity to break down. But Luminosity ultimately will be breaking down those walls. They will be busting through and being able to get to the Titan kills in both games. I think they're going to be able to take it into 2-0. It's going to be a crazy set. Both 11 a.m. games on Friday and Saturday are going to be amazing, and I absolutely recommend you don't miss them. Following it up, Noble once again coming out against Eager. And again, if they don't do anything surprising on Friday, if they don't come out and are just suddenly this amazing team that we've never seen before, then there really is no doubt in my mind Eager is going to be able to take this in a 2-0. While Noble is strong, they're definitely a good team. They are more of a contention for Challenger Cup teams as opposed to SPL teams, so Eager not going to have too much trouble and going to be able to eat through that relatively fast. Moving into the repeat games, Allegiance once again going up against Noble. Allegiance going to be able to take that in a 2-0 again. They're just a stronger team overall. They should be able to eat through it. If something goes down on Friday that is completely unexpected, I guess today, since that's when the video is going to be coming out, then maybe you might need to change this, so keep your eyes open if Noble does something insane. But I don't think they're going to be able to. I think Allegiance is going to be the ones who take it, and so I think they're going to be able to push themselves into the victory. 2-0 here. And moving on to the last game of Saturday, it's going to be Luminosity and Eager. And again, this one could go either way. I think Eager is going to be strong enough to take a game if they really want. But I mean, looking at the scores, looking at the way they've played, and looking in the past, Luminosity has all of the trump cards here. They should be able to bring themselves over Eager. They should be able to bring themselves above. And I think they're going to be able to take this one in a 2-0. And this one, again, is very dependent on how they play on Friday morning, but I feel like we're going to see the same sets twice. This could be a surprise from Eager, but I think Luminosity's got it. At this point, I feel really bad because every time I've said Noble's name, I've had them as getting 2-0'd, but that's just not going to change. Eager and Noble on Sunday morning, it's going to be another bloodbath. Eager is going to be able to take it in 2-0 just easily. They outclass them as a team. It's really... I feel like this group is 3 really strong teams, and then there's Noble, who's not a bad team. They just don't have the same grind that these other teams seem to have, and because of it, at this point, they're going to be sitting down several games as Eager takes another 2-0 over them. This one, again, is very, very heavily dependent on the game we see earlier, but as it stands, Allegiance being as strong as they are and standing kind of a little bit above Eager, but Eager right now having a little bit more LAN experience, honestly having a little bit more drive, I feel, since they're coming into this group and they know that this is the step they need to push themselves on to Super Regionals. This is where we're going to see the fights. If it's different, if Allegiance 2-0s earlier in the week, if Eager 2-0s earlier this week, then it might be something that you want to switch to either of the teams, but as it stands right now, I think it's going to be really close. I think both teams are going to be able to take a game and cause this one to be a split. Luminosity and Allegiance. Again, Allegiance is very strong, and I think that they're going to be able to give them a very hard time. But Luminosity ultimately just being a stronger team, I feel like they just have that stronger burn inside of them right now. And I think they're going to be able to push themselves to a 2-0 victory here and pretty much seal themselves in first place if they do it. Again, things might change. I'm kind of hoping for some surprises. But as it stands, Luminosity are going to be the ones who push themselves up and over into first place. And the last game, almost virtually opposite. So this week's starting on a great set, ending on a pretty poor one. Noble versus Luminosity. A very quick set, I hope so. Luminosity more than likely going to just dominate the entire set of the game, the entire set. Going to take this one in a relatively easy 2-0. So I'd once again like to thank everyone for watching. This is going to be very, very interesting when it goes on, because right now, these teams are very close, mainly the top 3. It could go either way. I think Luminosity is going to be holding themselves in first place, But second place is really up in the air. It honestly depends if either Eager or Allegiance is able to take a game off of Luminosity. That's probably going to be what brings them into that second place slot, because otherwise it's against each other and it's against Noble. And I feel like Noble is not really something that needs to be factored into this. It's really all the matches between Eager, Allegiance, and Luminosity. Those are going to be fun sets to watch. Make sure you catch everything with those 3 teams in it. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully next week I will be having a prediction video. I do have a couple projects from school coming up, and I will be in Atlanta for these LANs. So I'm going to have a little bit more trouble working on things while I'm about, but ultimately it should work out for me. Hopefully it works out for you getting some of this FP, but we will talk about that one next week for week 7 when we look at Group C for the SPL.